Hello, it is June 4th, 2020, and we are going to try to solve a star battle puzzle by JinHoo on. This is a guest constructor at Grandmaster Puzzles. If you want to solve the puzzle, you can look at the link in the description and try to solve it before I do. This is a 3.5 star puzzle, so probably a little bit mid-late week difficulty, and we will give it a shot. So let's talk about star battle puzzles first of all. So the idea behind a star battle puzzle, the rules are very simple. What we want to do is we want to fill in this grid so that every row, every column, and every region has the same number of specified stars. In this puzzle and in most star battle puzzles, I would say, the number we want is 2 stars. The stars cannot touch at all, orthogonally or diagonally. So for example, if there's 2 stars here, that would not be allowed. They're right next to each other. There cannot be a star here because they would be diagonally touching. This would be okay. However, this would not be okay because there's 3 stars in this region. So that's all the rules there are. It's a pretty simple rule set, but the puzzles can get pretty difficult. So we'll see how this goes. I've already solved it. I'm not doing it for time, so it's just for explanation purposes. So let's get started. First thing I try to do is I look for places where I can put a star that would completely or mostly eliminate a region. So for example, if I put a star here, notice that this region will be almost completely blacked out, and then there's only 1 star that could fit in this F shape right here. So that is not okay. So that means that this must not be a star. Similarly, if I look near this L, if I put a star here, none of this can be a star because that would be adjacent. So there's only 1 spot left, so that can't be. And then this place has the exact same logic with the other L. Another common star battle technique is, if we look right here at these 3 columns, we'll notice that these 2 shapes completely exist inside the 3 columns, and this other shape right here in the middle also exists behind in these 3 columns, which means that these 3 shapes must contain all 6 stars that are required for these 3 columns. But there's extra squares, and so we know that those extra squares cannot contain a star, because if they did, then there'd be more than 6 stars in these 3 columns, and we know that can't be. So that's good. Next thing I notice is this region down at the bottom got a lot smaller. If there's a star right here, then that eliminates these 3 squares right here, but now there's only a 2x2 area left in that region, and you can't fit 2 stars in a 2x2 area. Because if I put 1, no matter where it is, it's going to fill in the rest around it with nothing, right? So that means that this cell right here must not be a star. Next bit I think is a pretty cool bit of logic. So I started looking at this L right here, and I noticed that there's only 2 possibilities. One possibility is that there are 2 stars in this vertical column, which means that the 2 stars of this vertical column would be in these spots right here. The other option is that there's a star here, and then one of the stars is in this column. So let's see what happens if that's the case. So I know that none of those can be stars. And then in this region down here, there has to be a star here, and then there has to be, there has to be a star in one of these 2 locations. So what that tells me is there's either 2 stars here, or there's 1 star here and 1 star down here. But what that means is that none of the stars can be on the top of this part of this column. So that's helpful, as you'll see in a second. So now there's a couple things we can do. One is, now that we only have 5 left in this column, we know it can't be, star can't be here, because that would get rid of 3 of the possibilities, and then there's only 2 spots left for for two stars right next to each other, and that can't be. So that allows us to eliminate this and this one down here for the same reason. We also know this got a lot smaller, and if I put a star here, then there's only one spot left for a star up in here. So that's not a huge revelation, but there can't be a star there as well. So what else? Well, the fact that we now know that this spot right here cannot be a star means that we have fewer possibilities here. We know one of them has to be in one of these three, and we know the other one has to be in this one right here. And anytime you have two adjacent locations, you know that the adjacent locations on either side of it cannot be part of, it can't contain a star. Okay, so now what? Well, one thing I noticed is that if there were a star right here, then that would eliminate everything in this region except for these two places. But then if there's stars here, that would eliminate almost everything from this column except for this one, and almost everything from this region except for this one. And I need, again, two stars there. So this star right here has kind of a domino effect on this region and then this region. So there cannot be a star here. So what's left in this region? Well, we know that there's a star here. So that means there's got to be, there has to be at most one, well actually, yeah, at most one star right here, which means there's got to be a star up here. And they're all, so we know that there can't be a star here. It would block those two out. So there's one here, there's one here, but then these two down here cannot contain stars because we know one's here and one's here. And then finally, we can put our our first star in its location, which is right here. Once we put this first star, this puzzle actually gets a lot easier. So we can surround it to say that there's nothing here. And now notice there are only 4 spots in this one, and they make a T shape. So this one can't be the star, otherwise there'd be no place next to it. This one can't be the star, otherwise it would cut off those two, which means the stars have to be here and here. Okay, just make sure that that's good. Okay, we can fill in the column, and then this star is the one that has to be, or this spot has to be the one with the star. Now I've only got 2 spots left, so I can cut off these 2. So now I'm going to turn my attention to this region. We know one has to be here, and we know one has to be here. And then I can surround that. Now I've got 2 stars in this row, so I can complete the row, and I can put the star in that location. Okay, let's take a look. What is next? So if we look at this region down here, we only have 2 places left, which is good. So we can put the stars there. We can finish off that row. And that one is done, which is good. Okay, where do we go next? Let's see. So this column only has this location and then these 3. So we can't have one there. Otherwise, we'd cut off all 3 of these, which is not good. This is looking kind of promising because there's only 5. We know one of them has to be in these 3, and one of them has to be here, which means I can block off the ones on either side. Let's see. I'm probably missing something fairly obvious. Oh, yeah. So we know that there's a star here, which means that we've got the 2, so we can close all the rest off in that column. So now this one I'm going to move over to here. And in this region, now I know it's got to be one of those 3, and then it's got to be this one over here. So now I can finish off the rest of that row which says that this one must be it. And then I can eliminate that because it's adjacent. In this column, it's got to be this one and then one of these. So it can't be there. In this region, it can't be one of the middle ones, otherwise that would cut off all of the adjacent. So it's got to be this one, or one of these two and one of these two. Okay, let's see. I guess in these two rows, I have 4. There's one here, one here, one here, and one here, which means it's not going to be either one of those two. Let's see. Similarly, up here, I've got this star, and I know it's one of these two, so it can't be that one. Now I only have this location up here to contain the second star, which means those two cannot be a star. Now I only have one location left, so there's got to be a star right there. Over here, we only have one location, so we can put it there. So we look like we're pretty close. Oh, yeah, I did miss something obvious. So this star right here can't be adjacent, so we can make that. So that's going to cause that, which will cascade, and it'll be that one. That has 2 in the column now, so that one's got to be that. That's got to be that. This would go over here. That one's got to be there. Then those 2 can't be it, and that would be that. That would be adjacent, and then we finish it right there. Okay, so that is today's star battle. It's a very nice theme. I like the starfall theme with the letters in the center. There were 2 pretty nice pieces of I would say non-standard logic. One with this star over here that caused us to make deductions about what we knew about these stars, and then this location right here, which caused a cascading effect throughout here. So nice stuff. I liked it. So we will see you again next time. Thanks.